There it goes. There we are. Hey Zwifters, welcome to No Breakaways, your source for all Zwift racing tips and tricks. I am Rick Wenger. I see I have myself on the wrong side of the screen right now, and we have Ian Mulligan.
Hey Rick, glad to be back. How are you doing today?
Doing okay. Looking forward to some fun racing with the Finesse Wahoo Development Women's Team versus Dutch Deisel.
Man, I'm excited for this one, Rick. I think this one has real potential to be, a real sprinter's challenge, but also throw in some nice punchy climbs as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool to see how the tactics play out. Before we do our deep dive, though, we should probably get into some rider bios. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, rider bios, and we're going to do the course. So we're riding our RGV today. Distance is 25.1 kilometers. There is a bit of a lead in. It is a neutral start, so it's not our normal Zwift start. They're going to start off a little easier, and then Ryan, the DS for Finesse, is going to say go. But the basic start finish is at the Marina Sprint, where we're all kind of used to it. A little bit of elevation gain, a lot of flat. But Ian, why don't you take us through the course and tell us what you think?
So coming out of the lead out pens, the marina leads out into the French countryside, right? So as you come through the French countryside, there are about a series of rollers for about 3 or 4 kilometers. Pretty neutral start. I mean, it's as good of a neutral start as you're looking for, similar to something that's on Fuego Flats in Autopia. Now, as you get deeper into the course, you're going to start heading towards the first sprint point, right? That first sprint point in the first French village, what I think is the key leading into that are some rollers that kick up to 4 or 5%. So possibly a chance for some early race fireworks, maybe a chance at a breakaway for the sprint. Now, directly after the sprint, Rick, it leads directly into the foothills of the Aqueduct KOM. Now, that Aqueduct KOM, although it might not be a substantial climb, it's punchy, it's fast, it's usually around 45 to 50 seconds from what I've seen in a lot of women's racing, has an opportunity to create a split, but then it's followed by probably about a kilometer downhill back towards the French countryside where it zigzags back towards a second French village. Now after that, I think this is the biggest feature of the course, is you head into the backside of the course with rollers leading to the switchbacks on the river. Now, we don't really have an official name for this, Rick, right? It's
Right.
kind of unofficially known as the zigzags along the river. I mean, I've heard it called a multitude of things.
Yeah,
But this is, I
zigzags,
think,
twisties, intestines, colon, all sorts of
yeah, it
stuff.
is definitely a snake or intestine for sure. I think this is the most interesting feature on the France map because some riders say there's not a draft. Some riders say the draft is accelerated. I think this part of the race course will probably determine what we see as we come into the last kilometer and a half onto the sprint point and finish.
Yeah, I agree with you. And kind of in our pre-race discussions, we have some differing ideas on tactics, so that'll be fun to discuss a little bit later when the women are going. So let's get into the rider introductions. We have about 5 minutes until the ladies take off. So we'll do some of the rider introductions now. See how far we get. First up, we have the Dutch Deisel Racing Xena team. So in alphabetical order, first we have Andy Smith. She's from Bend, Oregon. She's team time trials are her favorite. So her and I already disagree on one thing. Team Pursuit National Champ in her Masters age group and podium in the Elite. She is a National Masters age group record holder on the velodrome.
That is quite the impressive palmares there. The National Masters record holder on the velodrome. Have you ever been on a velodrome, Rick?
No, I haven't. Have you?
No, I haven't. Frankly, it intimidates me. So good on Andy Smith. Looking at her profile, I think it definitely matches what we see, right? Someone who has that spark at, a 507 watt 15 second. Definitely someone that you could see being a track athlete, a track sprint rider. I think kind of, looking at Andy Smith, I view her as kind of an X factor in this race, someone who can kind of do it all, that can be a real workhorse for the Dutch Diesel team.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Next up, we have CJ Boyinger from Southern California. She started Zwifting in 2017, racing 2020. She started racing track and criteriums in 1993, though, when she was 30. She's been working on her endurance for the past 6 months. So what do you think of her numbers here, Ian?
I just want to say one thing. This is a wattage cottage type athlete. Not to steal a catchphrase,
Channeling your inner
but
Dave.
for sure, not to take it from Dave, but I saw this morning, and that's the phrase I uttered. You're looking at a 12.5 watts per kilogram, 15 second, and a 7.25 1 minute. I mean, that is some crazy power. I mean, this is someone who was like on the Aqueduct KOM, someone you could see just go snap and just go for it. I mean, that is some serious 1 minute power. Someone who can definitely go long in a race.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Next up, we have Diane Mitchell-Prey from Folsom, California. She's been Zwifting since December 26, 2019. It sounds like she got a good Christmas present. Road cyclist since 2020. 2000. I fat fingered that, but her last in real life race was in 2003. She's a healthcare worker by day and a Zwifter by night. Break down her numbers for us a little bit.
Well, I want to thank Diane for working in the healthcare industry during this time, especially. Probably is, I don't know if she's a frontline worker, but if she is, thank you for doing what you do. Looking at her numbers, another athlete who has that snap, 5.71 watts per kilogram for a minute of power. Another possibility on the aqueduct, but also I think a really highly respectable sprint at 9.2 watts per kilogram, 543 watts. I think we definitely sense a little bit of a theme with this Dutch team that they bring definitely the power over 15 seconds and 1 minute.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, we have Holly Gable from Apple Valley, California. She's an individual time trial SoCal Nevada State champ in Masters age group 2017, 18, and 19. Road race and crit 2019 SoCal Nevada State champion for her Masters age group. And she's a female overall winner of the Zwift Herd Summer Race Series in Cat C. And here are her numbers.
That's a pretty cool stat. Overall winner of a race series.
Yeah.
I think out of all the riders, this might be one of Dutch Diesel's most well-rounded riders as far as all the categories are concerned. Right? This is also a workhorse type power profile from my perspective, someone who can kind of do it all and who you can call on in a variety of situations to get a lot of work done today on the course.
Yeah, she's going to be a definite interesting rider to watch. Next up, we have Michelle Dobbs from Denver, Colorado. She's a former D3 runner and basketball player, quite the combo there, and won a national title in the indoor 800 meters. I would say her PR because I looked it up, but I'm embarrassed because mine is slower than hers. She started racing track, road, and cyclocross and the mountain bike disciplines in the summer, fall of 2019, and she's currently teaching herself to track, stand, and wheelie for while she's waiting for outdoor racing. And her power numbers in Zwift Power, I had to shut right after I opened it and take a minute and then recompose myself. Why don't you take it through us, Ian?
Holy mackerel. These numbers for her 15-second sprint. I mean, I think in our last broadcast, I said it's not often you see sprint numbers this high in just across the board in general. I mean, you can tell that this is someone, the 800 meters is a highly anaerobic event where it is very much, you need to have that endurance and also that sprint. And you can see that reflected in the 13 watts per kilogram, 15-second power, 911 watts over 15 seconds. So, this is, a female rider here who can crack conceivably 1,000 watts, which I don't care who you are, man or woman, that is an impressive number. And then on top of that, to almost wield a 7 watts per kilogram 1 minute as well, that is definitely a very impressive numbers that we see here. And then her 5-minute power almost at 5 points or 4.7. I mean, this is no doubt Michelle Dobbs brings the power. Hopefully, she gets that track stand down soon and puts me to shame as well.
So let's hop over to Zwift. The ladies are rolling. We didn't really miss the start. They aren't going hard yet. But here's where we're at, coming up on that Marina Sprint. So these are the teams. Finesse Wahoo in the blue kits, and Dutch Diesel in the, is it blue and orange? I'm colorblind. Is it Or blue or purple?
Yeah, it is. It is blue and orange. It is blue and orange. You got a blue band in the middle with the Dutch Diesel logo, and then orange on the rest of the kit. Really flashy looking kit. I like it. But there's great color disparity here. Very easy to tell the differences between the two here. Looking at the screen, a
Yeah.
lot of the Finesse Wahoo riders are also wearing caps or helmets, and the Dutch Diesel riders are wearing their orange caps as well.
Yeah. So let's finish up the Dutch Diesel introductions, and we'll go say hi to the Dutch Diesel team, and we'll come back for the Wahoo introductions. So next up after Michelle, we have Sam Esfahani from Perth, Australia. She's been cycling for 9 years, Zwifting around for 4 years with multiple podium race finishes, and she joined the Dutch Diesel cycling lead team on Zwift 3 years ago. Let's take a look at her power profile.
Her power profile, Rick. I mean, I can't help but laugh because I see this team, and I'm like, are you sure this isn't a track cyclist team? They all have very strong sprint numbers, and Sam is no exception. A 9.81 watts per kilogram sprint, 589 watts. I mean, she definitely can bring some sprint power in places where, maybe you try and force a move up the road. For Sam, also maybe an X factor for this Dutch Diesel team to try and maybe get up the road and force a response from Finesse Wahoo.
Yeah. So next up we have Finesse Wahoo, but let's skip back over to Zwift. Take a look at the women, how they're doing. Yeah, Ian, maybe walk us through what you're seeing there.
So what I'm seeing just so far as we're rolling out of the marina area is, as you come out of this, you'll see a bridge start to emerge here. Now, this bridge is typically seen from the other way around where you realize the finish is coming up. This coming the other way shows you, okay, now this is really going to start to open up onto the flats and into some of the early rollers where, I would assume here that the race is fully on as we come underneath this bridge. I haven't seen a go yet, but I would assume that the race is pretty close to starting.
We did get to go. We did get to go.
Okay,
there was a couple little sprints, but I was keeping an eye on it, but nothing really opened up.
I saw that as well. I didn't know if that was, a little nervous jitter or not, but we see, as we come into here, we'll have, Mont Saint Michel that's simulated here on the background here. But this is very flat, very tame. We're going to come across a cobblestone bridge here and then sweep around to the right-hand side into some rollers. Again, we're not missing much here in the sense of most races are not going to kick it up or shouldn't kick it up here for maybe another few kilometers. So perfect time, as you said, to go and check in with the teams, Rick.
Yeah, let's go see what they have going on. We'll hop over right now.
Up. There you go. Come on, up. Good job. Shut them down. There you go. The minute. Okay, just sit. They're going to 5. Just hang on. Don't go past them. Nice job, ladies. There you go. Good. Fourth blue forward again, and then sit. We almost want to see a blue wall. This isn't like a normal race. It's so much harder to attack from the front. Nice job, ladies. Good job. There you go.
Got Powell.
If at any point somebody in blue gets off the back and you're with them, and it's not one of our sprinters, make them close it. Force them in front of you guys again. I know it's hard.
Hey, Rebecca, this is Rick from No Breakaways. How are you? That was an interesting moment. We jumped in to hear y'all. How's it going?
Oh, yeah. It's going good. They're doing good.
Got someone going at 5.
Keep an eye on it.
Pull back to D6.
Yeah. Remember, force them to go forward and attack the front. Up.
Matthew's at 7. Let's go.
There you go. Nope, she shut it down again.
All
DJ,
right.
fall back. Up. Oh.
Good luck, ladies.
Oh. Thanks.
Well, that certainly didn't appear to be the best time for us to hop in. Lots of attacks going on.
They definitely have a strategy. I mean, that's apparent right from jumping in, right? Their director sportive is on it. She's calling things out. they obviously have a game plan and know what they want to do here. And I always like, as soon as we walked away and jumped into it, there was a little bit of a miniature attack. And I'm sitting here saying, usually we don't see that. But it's a head-to-head. It's not a normal race. There are lots of other dynamics in a head-to-head race that are not the norm when it's 20, 30, 40, 50 guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, really cool to see, Finesse Wahoo really kind of attacking there. And then to see some of that strategy of Dutch Diesel trying to close, really neat.
Yeah, I think the key definitely for Dutch Diesel is to be aware that you have two extremely strong sprinters, and you're obviously working to protect them, right? Or to set them up for later in the race. Those sprinters shouldn't have to do any work. The rest of the team is doing the work for them. If ever there's a gap that opens, if ever there's an attack, those sprinters, those stronger riders are not going to respond. They could, right? But that's more on the director sportive to call out.
Right.
That's her job. That's not an individual rider to decide. That's the nice thing about having that director sportive, right? Is that as a rider, you just simply focus on pedaling.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about, do I need to respond to this? No, someone's telling me what I need to accomplish.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the finesse files. I will keep an eye on the Zwift screen. If anything ends up happening, if there are any attacks, we're going to cut right to it. I'm not afraid to cut off Ian, and I'm not afraid to cut off myself either. So let's get back into these rider bios quick. For the Finesse Wahoo development team, excuse me, we have first up we have Josanne Mahou from Gatineau, Quebec, and I'm sure my French colleagues and friends are criticizing my French right now. I'm sorry. She organized and completed a full Ironman this summer. She's previously a runner, 10K, half, full, and marathons, and she started Zwifting in February 2020. Oh, let's hop back over to the Zwift screen. Here we go. We got some attacks going off the front.
We see a move here by Jillian and McIntosh, pressing the pace. And then immediately a response from CJ of Dutch Diesel. What do you think of that, Rick? We have 4 Finesse Wahoo riders and 1 Dutch Diesel. A little bit of a miniature split here. 3 and 1.
I like the idea of attacking. I question whether it can get away. I mean, you're seeing it not get away, right? It's just, if you're going to attack to get away, it's going to have to just be like almost a team time trial effort, right? And in a match race, the tactics are just so different. What did you think of it, Ian?
Well, looking at the numbers, Finesse Wahoo is down 1 rider.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to experiment on the fly as far as, could we possibly get 2 people up the road? And there they did have 4 people up the road. I think the issue, whether it's on Zwift or whether it's out on the tarmac, is that once you make a move, you got to commit to it. We're at 6.5, 6.4 kilometers, even maybe 6.2 as that move went off. There's still 25 kilometers to go. To commit that early is quite a large undertaking. It's nice. It's a good probing attack, which I think that's what the purpose was, is to see, okay, how is Dutch Diesel going to respond if we do go on the attack? Who will respond for them? And is it going to be the same person 2 times in a row? So if I'm Finesse Wahoo, I do it again, and I probe again and see, okay, is the same Dutch Diesel rider responding? And if they are, we know that that's the person responsible for shutting the moves down, and now we can kind of further strategize within ourselves over the next 25 kilometers what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're really trying to, if Finesse Wahoo's, what they're trying to do is get people off the front. I don't think you're going to do it with 4 people, because it's almost like you got to do it with 2 people and have them confident to ride away. And then your whole thing would be, your other people would be disrupting their pack, Like,
yeah, another move by Ashley McIntosh and immediately covered by CJ of Dutch Diesel. It's clear just watching that. When you have someone who has a sprint like she does and has 1 minute 15-second power, that each time that you go to get away, she's immediately going to respond and close.
Yeah.
She not only has tons of real life Zwifting experience, she can do it. She's going to read it. And I stumbled over my words there. Not only does she have, criterium experience, but she also has Zwifting experience. And so every time someone snaps on it, she's just going to respond. Let's get into those bios. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Josanne, did we finish up with her, Ian?
No, we were about to go over her power profile. Her power profile definitely reflects her endurance background, her Ironman background, with a strong 20-minute power at 3.8. Right, definitely a developing rider as far as the sprints are concerned. That will take time to develop. Right, with an Ironman athlete, they've developed their long muscle fibers. Now they're working on the fast twitch short muscle fibers to get that. So I think over time we will probably see that evolve in her power profile.
Yeah. Next up, we have Britt Powell, who created the new Finesse logo. Kudos to Britt there. She's been cycling since May, Huntsville, Ontario, in Canada. And as we mentioned in the last broadcast, she claims to be the winner of the most bugs inhaled on a ride, although I know a lot of us have, some of our own stories. Her power profile, Ian, why don't you take us through this one?
Power profile here, Britt Powell, Swiss Army knife. An X factor that has good numbers across the board, right? Someone who you can rely on to shut a gap, someone who can press the pace on a 5-minute climb, reasonable endurance, right? Definitely someone who you can call upon throughout a race to get a lot of things done, and she has the ability based on that 5-minute power to recover quickly, right? You don't get to 4 watts per kilogram and not have the ability to recover and go again.
Yeah. Next up, Jillian Howland, Kalamazoo, Michigan. She's a microbiologist by trade, horseback rider by blood, and a cyclist by choice. She is an ultra cyclist, and she set 3 state records this year, crossing Michigan twice with the Isosceles Quarantine, which I just love that name. And here are her power numbers.
I love how you pronounce that correctly, because I looked at this slide for a good 5 minutes today. I was like, I am glad I'm not saying that word. I would butcher it. So props to you. Julian's power profile, right? Strong 5-minute power right at 4 watts per kilogram. Jillian with that endurance background, crossing Michigan twice, she can recover, and those 5-minute efforts are going to be something that's imperative. Now, do you want to come back to this just real quick, Rick?
Yep. Here we go. Getting some attacks here. And we are following Michelle right now. Let's go to these people up the road. You see CJ here closing down all these moves. She seems to be that person.
And I don't see why there's any reason for her not to be the person with that profile. It's clear that then, that Dobbs is your designated sprinter, if that's the case, right? Just going through your power profile procedures, and then they catch them, and then the classic counterattack of Powell and Ashley McIntosh here. What I love about these head-to-heads is the constant attacking. It's not something that you see in other Zwift races. It's something that I think is completely unique to the head-to-head.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like the right format for that. And if you're Dutch Deisel and you know that they're going to do this. It seems like this is Finesse Wahoo's like what they're trying to do. Do you come over the top on one of these attacks?
I think it depends who your rider is who does it. I would say at this point, looking at the riders, you have Diane and Andy Smith. Those would be my 2 riders for Dutch Deisel, but I would say go over the top, or it would be Sam. I'd say go over the top on this. If they counterattack, wait for us to pull them back, and then commit to the move and go as hard as you possibly can and see what gap that you can create and stay out there as long as possible. We have 6 riders. They have 5, which means that you have 1 more person scoring and you have that 1 rider advantage. So why not send someone over the top and commit to that move, knowing that you would still have a 5-on-5 in that situation?
Yeah, and kind of surprisingly here, it looks like Andy and Holly may have, or Andy and Sam may have been gaps. That might be it.
I saw that developing, but sometimes it's hard to tell. Okay, is that really 2 seconds? Is it 3? sometimes it's hard to tell right away. You know, when you see a 1 or 2 second gap, you're like, ah, not a big deal. Because so often in racing, that 1 or 2 seconds, that's just because the group has surged.
Yeah.
You're just holding that consistent power and give a microburst and you're right back on. But in this case, this is really interesting. I definitely didn't expect this.
No.
I would want to go back and rewatch this, you know, from that perspective of we're looking at the front. We didn't see this developing in the back.
Yeah,
You
and
know, it
I
seems
saw
like
that same 1 second gap. Honestly, I just assumed it was normal Zwift racing where it just was going to yo-yo a little bit. But it's interesting now.
absolutely.
Finesse Wahoo, they're down a rider with Caitlin being out sick, which we'll get to in a second. They now have put themselves in a place where they have one more rider in this front pack than Dutch Deisel does.
The attacking definitely paid off early on in trying to probe for, I wouldn't say it's a weakness, that's not fair, to probe for the opportunity to flip the numerical advantage in their favor as we come into the sprint.
And I'm shocked. I'm shocked they were able to do that. Good for them. I mean, really solid tactics. So yeah, let's get back. We'll finish up these introductions, then we can go back through. I guess some of what we were going to say about strategy is a bit out the window now with that having happened. So
I think just the last thing on those 1 or 2 seconds is that in meetups, sometimes that 1 or 2 seconds is a little bit weird because of the meetup dynamic in Zwift.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just saw Jillian Howland 1 second, but when I clicked on her, she was right on wheels.
Yeah.
So sometimes that 1 or 2 seconds, so that's not a big deal. But
Yeah.
going back to the bio, I apologize.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Next up, we have Ashley McIntosh, a very new Zwifter from Evansville, Indiana. She did place first in one of the team time trials, and I should have mentioned that this Finesse Wahoo development team has won a couple of those Thursday team time trials, so they're a very strong squad. She placed first in the 2020 Johnson Crit City Omnium and Cat 3-4. And also placed second in the Cat 3-4-5 and seventh in the Women Open in the Worldwide Technology Raceway Criterium. And despite what you're going to see in her power numbers, her max power outside is 864 watts. She's currently working on breaking that 1,000. So here is her Zwift power profile. And maybe walk us through that and what you see and maybe what we don't see.
I think what we don't see is someone still learning the platform and the gearing of how to reach that maximum power sprint. I'm sure you would agree with me in saying that it took a while to really get down, how do I get my maximum output on Zwift? But I think we've seen already in this race, her power far exceeding 367 watts for 15 seconds, as we've seen her go off the front. Yeah. That's something that Zwift power is sometimes not going to tell you when someone is inexperienced. And not to pull in the world championships from the other day, but we see this rider from Germany go off the front and drop this wall bomb of 10.2 for that last stretch. That wasn't on Zwift power. Zwift power is not always going to tell us the full story. And so I think based on this power profile, we're going to see some things like a monster sprint of 864 watts that's not measured. Because keep in mind, Rick, in order for that to be registered on Zwift power, you have to complete a race with that number of metric on a group ride or ride. A meetup isn't going to register because it's not going to go through Zwift power. Yeah. So if you're registering those numbers, it's not going to show there. And furthermore, if you're in a team time trial, at the end of a race, I don't know about you, I don't have a 15-second max power at the end of a team time trial. I'm spent.
Yeah. So let's, how about we hop in the Finesse comms here for a second and see what they say going up the aqueduct.
Perfect timing.
Go with them, girls. Come on. It's just short. Only 10-15 seconds up to that right-hand turn. Come on, Nancy. Got it, girl. That's it. Lost y'all again. Keep working for it. I can't see you, so just keep putting pressure on.
All right. Yeah, an interesting one there. Yeah, it sounded like we're having some technical problems for the Finesse Wahoo team as well. So, yeah, so we didn't see much of an attack there, which I know we both thought there was going to be attack through the aqueduct. What did you think of that, Ian? Were you surprised?
I'm surprised because that is where I would, if I was a DS, try and send someone over the top to attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
just because I think it's punchy enough that you can force a response, especially leading into it. It's not easy, right? Anyone who says that leading into Aqueduct is easy, if the pace is high, it's not.
right.
Having done team time trials and races, that's where it usually will snake out. And to not see that, I think is surprising to me because so often in so many group rides and so many races, I see it spread out there, and for there not to be something over the top, I, always full of surprises. And when we talk about strategy here in a few minutes, I'm sure that's something we'll touch on a little bit more.
Yeah, so we have one more rider bio. We apologize it's taken so long. We obviously didn't plan correctly, but we're always learning here. So let's go to the last rider bio, which I'll pull up, and it's Nancy Gillian, the 5th rider for Finesse Wahoo. And we want to say quickly, I hope Caitlin, if you're watching, get well soon. So Nancy Gillian from Gatineau, Quebec, previously competitive speed skater. She won her age group for the best all-rounder at the Ottawa Bicycle Club time trial. She's a busy mom of 3, and her family loves every sport or snow or ice, which I know is shocking being from Canada. And Ian, why don't you take her through our power numbers?
The speed skater background shows up in the sprint, right? An 8.7 watts per kilogram, 15-second sprint, 620 watts. Speed skaters have that unique power profile ability of not only being strong on an endurance level, but also possessing a sprint. A very well-rounded bike rider with a 4.05, almost a 6.1 minute. I mean, on Zwift Power, you see on the right-hand side there how the numbers light up for her power profile. That's showing you that she's in a high percentage for women who are in those power categories. So Nancy is definitely a well-rounded rider. I think, I always use the word X factor a lot, and we've talked about it a lot in this race. But in the twisties, possibly a rider you send up the road if you're Finesse.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're kind of getting close here to the twisties, to being able to see some more of these fireworks. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. So we're on Michelle here and taking a look. It looks like we have probably Michelle's, I'm going to guess Michelle's mom. So interesting fact about Michelle. It's not really about Michelle though. I actually coached on a team against her team in high school. So I remember, I knew her name from somewhere, and I looked her up yesterday. So I used to coach women who competed against her. She was an exceptional high school athlete. So here we go. We're coming up on some of the twisty parts here. Ian, what do you think is going to happen in the twisties?
Well, as I said in the pre-broadcast before the race started, the Zwift community is very divided on this section. I personally love this section as a heavier rider. Rollers are great. It gives you the opportunity to punch through them, coast. Punch through them, coast. Some Zwift riders think there's not a great draft effect. Some riders think because of the nature of the twisties that it's hard to get away. I don't have a definitive answer in a head-to-head, but I think as you come around the corner here and you come right, there are rollers, there is a sprint point. You might as well roll the dice and see what you get here in the twisties and force the pace. Because then after that, you've got 1.5 kilometers to the finish. And if I'm Finesse Wahoo, I don't want this to be a straight-up sprint finish where I give Dutch Deisel the opportunity to unload all of their matches. Mm-hmm. And then in that same kind of line of thought, if you're Dutch Deisel, you know that's 4 to 5 right now, which is a little bit probably concerning. I don't think they probably expected that to happen. So with it being a numerical advantage to Finesse Wahoo, You have to place your riders as high as possible. You can't play these games as far as now we can send someone up the road. We have a numerical advantage. Now you don't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're Dutch Diesel, maybe you do roll the dice with a stronger rider like CJ and just say, just go for it. You've got an awesome 1 minute power. See if on the backside of these twisties, if you can just get away and if someone will follow you and secure the first place points. That's what I would personally do, knowing that your numbers down, is you might send someone up the road and attack and see if you can force a response. If you can't, you got someone away, and now you worry about getting second and third place.
Yeah.
It's a hard call here. I mean, we come into a sprint point here, and I don't think anyone will necessarily attack on sprint point. There are no points here in a head-to-head. I mean, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Oh man, look, they almost dropped Diane there. Wow.
Yeah, I saw her spark back on. I see Ashley McIntosh kind of dangling right now, but that's not uncommon. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, so I had. Oh, here we go. Got an attack from Finesse Wahoo. Honestly, it's an interesting one right now. I think if I'm Finesse, I keep pushing. I mean, it looks like they have Mitchell Prey a little bit on the back foot. I mean, she's getting back on. She seems comfortable, but
this is where you go then.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, I think you just keep coming over the top again because that Dobbs and Boyinger, you're gonna have a tough time beating them in the sprint. And Ashley, I'm sure, has a excellent sprint, but I mean, Dobbs was what, 300 or 950 watts?
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to point out something that was said in chat. Ron in chat mentioned, they're also tiring out CJ, which is true, right? We saw CJ have to respond a few times. Do you make her respond again? Knowing that Diane was dangling there.
Yeah.
Do you send someone up the road again to attack to not only force Diane to respond because she just got back on, but also for CJ too? I mean, this is such a tough position for Dutch, knowing that it's 4-on-5. That you can probably win this sprint with Dobbs. I don't think there's any question about that. It's a matter of how do you play out the rest of your pairings to maximize your points, knowing that's 4-on-5.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's something to be said for either team attacking. But if I'm...
Most definitely.
If I'm either of the DSs, I would probably throw in an attack in the twisties. And if I'm Dutch Diesel, I go with all four. That's what I would personally do. And if I'm Finesse, I'd probably go with 2 and make Dutch Diesel chase. And then right when they catch, hit them with your next 3. So I would send my weakest 2 off the front to attack. And if Dutch Diesel runs that down, maybe you can drop one of them, but then hit them again with your next 3. That's what I would do, but...
Yeah, right as we see this developing, I was going to say, I think it would be to Finesse Wahoo's advantage to send your Julian Howland off the front, and Powell. I almost said a portmanteau there. Howland and Powell off the front, or Josie Ann. Josie Ann and Jillian Howland would be 2 good choices to send and try and press the pace here, and that's what we're seeing, right? Is that they know they have the numerical advantage, so why not send someone to press?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I will point out in Zwift racing is if I'm Powell, I can't be that second wheel if my teammate is attacking. I don't want to be that second wheel unless I'm coming over the top, which she is right now. So it looks like that was maybe the strategy of sit in the draft and then go, because we've just seen Howland back off and then Powell take over.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, we see CJ responding.
I mean, what do you think of the strategy of just hitting it at like 4 or 4.5? I'm personally not thrilled with it. What do you think?
You mean like 4.5 to go in the race?
Well, no, they're hitting it like 4.5 watts per kilo. I mean, she's leading at 3.6. If I'm Finesse, I'm not giving somebody my draft. I'm gonna hit it hard off the front and try to make them chase. It's not really a chase, Like, what do you think? Because you have, like, if we look back at Mitchell Prey, she's seemed like she's been vulnerable. It's hard to tell, but she's sitting in at 1.2 right now. And you have Gable in at 2.5, but you're riding off at 4.3 right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think it is not to your advantage at this point in the race with less than 4K to go to be like, I'm going to play the 5-minute power game and I'm going to try and go here, because there's nothing that's overly difficult, right? There's not a 6 or 7% slope coming. If we were doing the lay breaker on the opposite side of the course, we'd be talking about something different.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the time where you put down your 30-second power at 80% and see what can happen, and hope that you can create a gap and force them to respond. We see Finesse Wahoo sitting off the back of the wheels here. I would say caution to that, only from the perspective that if you have someone on the front, I don't know. I just don't think that, if Pal is sitting at 4.1, I'd rather her save those watts or just go all in instead.
All right, so let's hop over to the Finesse Discord comms here for as they come into the twisties.
But yeah, you can push the pace on those hills there and see if you can break them up. But it's gonna be hard for me to call it for you with it since I can't see it.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get fan view to work so I can watch and see y'all work, but
We're getting into the jigsaw.
Yeah.
22K.
oh, that's what's going on. My companion app is deciding not to work.
All right, so Ian, we're back here with Zwift. Do you want to hop over to the Dutch Deisel comms and see what they have to say?
Really interested. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, nice job, ladies. Everybody feeling okay?
Yep.
Okay. Sure, force the blue forward. Make them be the aggressors on it. Whatever they're doing, do a little bit less. It's looking really good. What'd you say?
On the right.
Yeah, just keep an eye. No, you guys are doing awesome. Also, when you get toward the sprint, make sure you're not leading it out. Obviously, you guys are doing awesome. Force them forward.
Is it attack?
But just force it, shut it down. Nice. Just stay on it.
Attack.
Stay on it. Nope. There, shut it down. Let them roll forward again. Nice job. Follow the wheel. Follow them in. Good. Nice job, girls. Come on. There's 3 humps. That's the first one. Nice job. Tuck it back in. Force them forward again. CJ, force them forward. Force them forward. Nice. Okay. Glue it back together. Force blue forward. Good job, ladies. Remember, every place counts here. Nice, tuck back.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff there. I mean, really interesting tactics. It seems like the DS for Finesse Wahoo, Ryan, he has pretty much lost all view of his riders, and Dutch Deisel seems pretty content to sit in. What do you think, Ian? What's your thoughts here?
It's a move to send the rider off the front and to make them to respond, right? Dutch Deisel knows very astutely that you want to force Finesse Wahoo to do the work through this and to sit on wheels and wait for the sprint, but to also not lead out the sprint. Like, those things are I think are pretty clear. But as Finesse Wahoo, each time they come up to a pitch like that's like 4 or 5, you got to go. Send someone else and go, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only person whose legs you're really saving for the sprint for their full send is McIntosh at this point, because we have not seen her. We've seen her dangle off the back for most of this race, other than very early on. We see a feather up, power up deployed. We saw feather power ups deployed by 2 of the Dutch Deisel riders. And you don't just use a feather power up because you're like, you know, I want to use it. No, you use it because you know that you have to try and stay on wheels and to maintain your position. We're coming into the sprint here. I mean, I'm nervous. Anytime I'm watching and it's a head-to-head, I mean, and the sprint's coming up, you never know what's going to happen. Nothing's ever a guarantee.
Let's hop over to the Dutch Deisel comms. We'll see if we can catch how it goes and see them sprinting.
Follow them. Follow. Come on. Follow them. Nice job. Come on. Anytime now. Come on. Go. Come on. Go. All in. Way to go. Come on. All in. Come on, CJ. Come on, everybody. Go. Come on, CJ. Go. Come on. Nice job. Come on. Keep it going. Finish strong. Keep it rolling. Woo! Michelle, did you get it?
Yeah.
Woo!
Heck of a finish, ladies. Heck of a finish.
Okay, we're in third. Keep it rolling. Nice job.
Wait, so who got it?
Good job.
I got it. Michelle, woohoo!
Well
done, Michelle.
Nice.
Congratulations. Way to go. Great sprint.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm hard.
Yeah.
To be
So
honest,
That was a move. You went from distance.
I
That
know.
was impressive.
I didn't realize I went from distance, to be honest. I thought that I was one turn closer than I was, but by the time I saw the little sprint marker, I was like, well, I'm in it now. So.
yeah.
I mean, you came around that corner like it was a criterium, like you're using the momentum, and boom, you were gone.
Great job. So Rebecca, did they play out the strategy the way that you were wanting?
Yeah, they did a really so what I was hoping to force the other to be force the other team to attack. We had the sprinter.
Rebecca, you're kind of popping in and out.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
All right. So,
You're breaking up.
so the goal was to force the other team to attack and be aggressive. And so we were I kept telling them to make a blue ball. The blue ball and just kind of keep an eye on it. And they were doing a really good job when the attacks were coming and shutting it down. So it was attacks like crazy. And we knew that or one of our sprinters away. So they awesome job.
Yeah, good work, CJ, closing down like every attack.
Yeah.
And still coming third.
Not bad.
Cover.
Different
Yeah.
style of racing in terms of but knowing their strengths. So they did an excellent job.
Yeah. Well, nice job. Nice job, ladies. It was great to watch you race, and thanks for letting us hang out for a little bit.
Thank you.
For setting this up. This was really fun.
Yeah.
Awesome
absolutely.
race.
Let's hop over to
It's really
Finesse
fun.
now. Yeah.
Now that it's over, it's really fun.
Yeah, that's always when it's best.
It's a good race, girls.
That was a lot of fun.
That was.
Hey, Team Finesse, nice job, great race. Yeah, how'd everybody think it went?
Woo!
It was fun.
That's fun. That's fun.
I had a few technical problems and lost my stream for a good 10 minutes there.
Yeah, we heard that. Yeah, it was interesting. Did that? So, ladies, did that make it harder with Ryan not being able to see it, or was it better that way?
I think it was a little harder. Can't like how everyone's feeling. Where he'll like look at our heart rate and be like, okay, your heart rate's fine, go. Whereas we're like, what are they doing?
We
Yeah.
were waiting for instructions.
We're
Normally
like
we just
sheep.
do what we're told.
What's next? It definitely made us communicate too.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
definitely.
did you guys have a plan to attack at all through the twisties, or were you content just sitting in?
I think there was a
Um,
plan.
The plan, I don't know what I would say there was a plan to attack, but there was a plan to have 2 or 3 of our girls designated as lead outs to make that hard, and make the Dutch Diesel girls really work to keep on their wheels, and then have our sprinters sit on theirs, kind of use their draft to sit in and have as fresh a legs as possible at the end. We were actually able to do that on some of those hills. Josiane and Britt were really pushing the pace on those. But yeah, they were doing a really great job of hanging on to those wheels, and then the sprint was quite exciting there. We threw a good lead out train as best we could at them, and Dutch Diesel used that to their full advantage there with Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle really took off the front. And who got second for us? I couldn't see. Was it Ashley?
That was Ashley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, nice job. Yeah.
So the results I'm seeing is right now that we're posting is Ashley, or Michelle, then Ashley, then Nancy, then CJ, Holly, Josiane. I don't know. I can't remember Mitchell Prey's first name.
Diane.
Diane, and then Britt. So
Okay.
that would give it a tie. If we're looking at the points for the first 3, and then the tiebreaker would go to Dutch Diesel on their 4th rider.
Oh.
So.
All right. Well, I'll let you work out those details. It's but yeah. So we
It was
just
a fun race. So early, we did try to animate the race, see if we could get a couple of the riders dropped, especially since we were down 1 rider. See if we could get some numbers in our favor, and we were able to do that. And then shortly after, I lost my communication. So
yeah, it was
just telling the girls to keep the pressure on, and until I could figure out a way to get it back.
It was incredibly impressive. Ian and I were both very complimentary of how you were able to get rid of some of their riders. So nice job.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thanks, Rick.
yeah, we'll see y'all later. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, we're back. Let's get our videos on here. So Ian, maybe wrap us up a little bit. What did you think?
Wow, I mean, I think looking at the body of work across this race, one thing I noticed was how the race was animated early and how I didn't expect that, right? From that perspective of Finesse knew that they had to animate early, and they did animate early. And I thought that was, one of their strong suits, was that it did end up cracking, 2 of their riders. And then I think down the stretch in the twisties, it did offer a lot of drama, right? We heard from both director sportifs. And I think throughout the race, even with the numbers advantage, it goes 4 deep, the tiebreakers and how the scoring functions, is that Dutch Diesel knew that they had to, get 2 riders in the top 3 to make sure that their numerical advantage wasn't hurt. I think what was most interesting is that the sprint was launched incredibly early. As soon as Howland went, they responded, and I don't think that Dobbs realized how early she launched.
Yeah.
I mean, she launched really early, but I think that's the most intriguing part of a race, is that you don't always know what you're going to get. And I think this race embodies that of, what are we going to see? Well, we don't know, because head-to-head races are completely different, and they always, surprise me. I think it was a great race. I loved watching it. The sprint was fantastic. I definitely was on my toes. Although I'm sitting, I definitely kind of sat up a little bit and was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is going to be awesome. And it was. To see McIntosh then close the gap and to finish second was, a great sprint at the end, right? We saw her always looking for that opportunity. What are some of your final thoughts, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think one of the coolest things about these match races is that somebody can launch a sprint with 400 meters to go, and the pack isn't big enough or necessarily strong enough to bring them back. So, it really added some really cool things, I think, to this format. Congratulations to both teams. I thought Both teams implied excellent or implored excellent tactics. You know, I know I was totally wrong about how the race was going to go. You know, so no, it was really fun, and yeah, I guess just thanks everybody for watching, for joining us. We hope you liked it. Let us know any feedback, any comments you have. We love to hear, and yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, that whole normal YouTube deal. So